in session, we bout to school y'all. We a big deal, you with the big dog. Click, clack. I'm coming. Get out the way. I'm coming right for you. I grind big and I grind hard. I put the work in, no time card. Lace them up, yeah, lace them up. And if they sleeping, we about to go and wake them up. Get out the way. Get out the way. Get out the way. I'm coming right for you. One look at me will show you that I'm real. I do the work, turn your turf to a battlefield. Click, clack. Click, clack. Click, clack.
Hello guys. I know I'm like, 3 days late? Yeah, I'm like 3 days late to this, but hey, at least I made it. I wanted to do like a giant, what we know so far, video for Train Sim World 3. So yeah. Anyways, let's get right into the video. So, as probably a majority of you know, Dovetail Games teased the routes and stuff, along with the features for Train Sim World 3, that will be releasing on September 6th. We're gonna have German route, UK route, and a US route. Anyways, for the German route, we have, the Castle to Wurzburg high-speed line. This route will cover 186 kilometers or 116 miles with epic bridges and tunnels along with stunning scenery. This is now the new longest route in Train Sim World. I believe the longest route before was LGV Mediterranean. The locomotives included with this German route include the original ICE, the DBBR 401 or the ICE 1, the DBBR 406 or the ICE 3, and the DBBR 185.2. Something new that they're doing is new wind physics with varying speeds limits changing to match the current wind speed. The max speed on this route can reach up to speeds of 280 kilometers per hour or 173 miles an hour. For the UK route, we have the Southeastern High Speed, but it's not just Southeastern High Speed. Like it says here, don't panic. This route has been extended to Ashford and Dartford. Ashford/Dartford International. This route length is now, the new route length is now 90 miles or 145 kilometers. I believe it was like 60 miles, 56 miles or something like that. Anyways, reworked signaling, graphical improvements. As you can see in the back here, we got a lightning strike. I will talk about this later. For the locomotives, we have the Class 395, the Class 375, and the Class 465, which is a DLC. I believe they said you'd get a refund for it and get your money back for those who paid for it, along with the Class 66. And take on the wide range of the UK weather, as you can see here. Like I said, I'll talk about this later. A new railroad has been introduced, a railroad from the US. The BNSF has finally been introduced to Train Sim World. For the US route, it is the Cajon Pass. We have incredible and breathtaking scenery. This route is the steepest US gradients in Train Sim World to date. This route is 85 miles or 136 kilometers long from Barstow, California to San Bernardino, California. The two locomotives included are the SD40-2 and the ES44C4. in the BNSF livery for the first time in Train Sim World. And challenging heats and colds are in the route. So as you can see here, I'll show pictures later, but you can see the ES44 C4 behind here, along with containers. The containers are varied as well, just like Sherman Hill and Horseshoe Curve. Anyways, on to the new features. We have Volumetric Skies, which are 3D clouds. You can sort of see it back here. A new lighting system. Kick-up effects like snow. You'll see that later. Sparks from the wheels, which is actually interesting to me because they've never shown this yet. Raindrops impact on the ground. New snow and rain effects. Lightning and snow buildup, realistic window visibility, dynamic weathering, and new environmental ambient sounds. Back here, this is a new map that they'll be introducing. It is now the training center. The training center is going to be used for, I think locomotives, the basic movements, how to play the game, etc. Instead of having it like up, down, left, right, every single route intro. Now here's the preview streams for everything. Tuesday, August 16th will be the Train Sim World 3 Q&A, along with the introduction. On the 18th, 2 days after that, you'll have the Castle to Wurzburg preview. On Tuesday the 23rd, we'll have the training center. Thursday the 25th is the Southeastern High Speed extended preview. And on September 1st is a Cajon Pass preview, the day before release. Well, the day before deluxe and standard version buyers get to see and play the game for the first time. If you haven't bought the standard or the deluxe version yet, then need to get it in now just so you can play 4 days earlier. But yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Alright. Anyways, so for the features, dynamic weather will be coming to the timetables now, so you don't know when they will change. The weather will change. There's going to be a lot more. So anyways, this roadmap will cover it all. It's going to be probably like an hour of roadmap worth. So let's get into the roadmap, shall we? Welcome to the first roadmap of Train Sim World 3. Hop in. We've got plenty to share. We make no apologies for this being possibly the longest roadmap you're ever going to read. And that's why we split it into two. We'll be covering the routes, locomotives, and UI within Train Sim World 3. Tomorrow we'll be talking about the new feature set, and our roadmap stream will take place on the 11th. So that was yesterday, so they have it up on their channel now. We'll also open a question thread ahead of the Q&A stream next week. We will answer some of your questions over these 2 articles. But we want to give you time to digest what you've seen so far and ensure we can provide you accurate, up-to-date answers. So shall we get started? What's new? Well, quite a lot actually. Yesterday we announced a new addition to the Train Sim World franchise, TSW 3. Check out chock full of new features, routes, and locomotives. We can't wait for you to get your hands on it on September 6th, or if you pre-order standard or deluxe edition, September 2nd. If you haven't already checked out the announcements with Matt and JD, we recommend you do that before you read this article. You can find it here, as it'll give you a great introduction to the game. As a result, we have added our 3 new routes: Chanel Fostricker, Castle to Wurzburg, and Southeastern High Speed extended from London, St. Pancras to Ashford and Faversham, and Cajon Pass to the roadmap, and they'll be released with the launch of the new game. Schnellfahrstrecke Kassel to Wurzburg is the German high-speed route we've always wanted to do. At a whopping 186 kilometers, 115 miles, the longest route ever produced in Trains and World, you'll be pushing the all-new DBBR 401 Ice 1 to 280 kilometers per hour and staying there, navigating a beautiful landscape of viaducts and tunnels. You'll be combining passenger and freight operations to the Hesse and Bavaria countryside. Here's a picture of the DBBR 401. Southeastern High Speed extended London St Pancras to Ashford and Faversham is Trains from World's first route extension and adds length, depth, and activity to one of the Trains from World 2's most popular routes, with 45 miles of extended track, 89 miles, 143 kilometers total, from Dartford to Ashford International and Faversham, with a much extended service pattern, including dedicated timetables for the BR Class 465, new signaling including approach control, new overhead lines, track relaying, and improved scenery, including a fully explorable Ebbsfleet station. And what's more, if you own the existing route within Train Symbol 2, you'll get the updated version for Train Symbol 3, obviously free. Absolutely free, with the purchase of any Train Symbol 3 bundle. More details can be found on our frequently asked questions. So, for example, if I get the US edition, I could just get the extended version for free of Southeastern High Speed because I own it. Cajon Pass is another monster of a route and one of our favorite American freight experiences, clocking in at 85 miles, 136 kilometers of pure American muscle. You'll be able to operate our first ever BNSF locomotives, the ES44C4 and the SD40-2, as you tackle stunning mountain ranges and harsh deserts, with some of the steepest inclines ever seen within Trains and World. You can find out a little more about each of them in yesterday's announced live stream, and we'll of course be showing you all the routes in previous streams. More information on that below. Here's the ES44C4. As well as this Spirit of Steam, Liverpool Lime Street to Crewe will be receiving all of Trains and World 3's new features. More on these tomorrow. And if you own the existing route within Trains and World 2, you'll get the updated version for Trains and World 3 absolutely free with the purchase of any Trains and World 3 bundles. More details can be found on our frequently asked questions. We also have some positive news for you about Add-Ons Manager, which you can find out below. All content which we plan to release for both Trains and World 2 and Trains and World 3 is now labeled as such within the roadmap, including the majority of content on previous roadmaps. We've also removed a couple items from the roadmap, including the PS4, PS5 profile transfer, and DTG live rewards. We're not investigating the former, and the latter is now encompassed within the preservation crew section of the roadmap. We're sure you have a lot of questions about Trains from World 3, and while we try to cover as much ground as we can with these articles and coming live streams, we also recommend you check out the frequently asked questions on our knowledge base, as it has a lot more information covered with it around package options, pricing, profile transfer, and much more. You have a live stream planned for next week to answer your questions, and you can find the link below to post them. We recommend you read both today and tomorrow's roadmaps before doing so, though. Trains about 3. Route timetables. We asked the team working on the routes for a little insight on the timetables you can expect when you're playing predominantly passenger routes on Trains in Mode 3. Southeastern High-Speed Extension. First up, James, our product assistant, and Joe, our associate designer, with the Southeastern High-Speed Extension. For the Southeastern High-Speed Extension route, there was a lot we wanted to do to the timetable. Not only cover the basics of adding services to the new Ashford and Dartford sections, but also bring to life the existing route in a much more exciting way. The original timetable was based on a reference gathered in 2020, which in hindsight resulted in a rather bare-bones atmosphere, with many services having given away to the pressure of the pandemic. Hourly javelins to Faversham, no peak time variety, etc. On top of that, there were plenty of areas which were missing AI elements that bring stations to life. All has changed for Southeastern High Speed and Trains in Mode 3. Using reference gathered from the 2019 working timetable, featuring pre-pandemic service levels, an exponential increase in traffic is now present on the route, with much richer variety and, of course, expanding to reach the new endpoints on the route. Here we have Strood Station at 7 a.m. and Trains in Mode 2 above. Yeah, it's very quiet, only the Javelin here. And Strood at 7 a.m. and Trains in Mode 3 on the same day. At the same time of day. At Strood at 7 a.m. A lot more busier. We have rush hour passengers up and down. Station, we have a Javelin that looks like to be departing. 465 departing. And a 375 sitting. And either departing or waiting. The full Class 395 diagrams have been accurately represented using all the units correctly throughout the day, including coupling and uncoupling procedures as well as peak time oddities such as ECS moves and fast services avoiding stations. St. Pancras comes to life in the rush hour, with a mere 3 platforms supporting up to 8 departures an hour. There is certainly a lot more going on now. Ashford Depot is also included, interior and all, as there are the services which bring 395s in and out of the depot. Around Ashford, you will also see plenty of mainline AI from Tonbridge and Maidstone to the Kent coast. 395014 leads a 12-car set from Ashford Depot ahead of the evening rush hour on High Speed 1 above. Meanwhile, at London, nose-to-nose trainbow action is taking place as services divide, ready to run commuters home on Britain's fastest domestic train below. The classic lines are also fully fleshed out, with more trains between Rochester and Faversham, including peak expresses to Cannon Street. Services which also terminated in Gillingham now run to Dover. In rush hour, splitting and joining of Class 375s at Faversham also feature. You can expect to see Sheerness Branch AI at Sittingbourne, as well as Medway Valley Line AI at Strood. North Kent has been transformed with the addition of Dartford. 4 trains per hour out of Gravesend platform 0 to Dartford and vice versa, with additional services that also extend to Strood in the rush hour. Dartford also sees AI services which terminate from London. Here we have 3 Class 465s. 465-931 departs Dartford on 1N36 to Gravesend, where after a few minutes it will turn tail and return on 1D42 back to Charing Cross. With the inclusion of freight stock, Hu Junction sees a lot more action, mixing in neatly between the busy passenger timetable. Aggregate engineering and light engine moves will be available. And yes, shunting as well. Who Junction in TSW 2, which required East Coast Way, and Who Junction in Train Sim World 3 out of the box. What would a timetable be these days without a rail tour or two as well? Another time we will go deep into how these layers and other seasonal services work on this route, but for now a little teaser. No, everything described above is representative of a Generation 9/PC timetable. Generation 8 timetables are still under evaluation as to the impact on performance. Here we have a 375 sitting in the station with a rail tour, it looks like, going out of the station. Chanel Fostrecker, Castle Warsberg. Next we move on to Lucas, our senior technical producer, and Joe, our associate designer, discussing Castle Warsberg. The Castle timetable service mode has been a team effort, mixing the expertise of both Lucas and Joe. We split the work up at what we do best. With Joe handling most of the passenger services and all the AI he loves to implement, and me focusing on freight, the dream team. Here's a sneak peek of the German freight timetables. For this route, we had an actual German freight timetable for the first time, and so we really wanted to fully implement it. This presented more than just a few challenges. Since freight on this route runs at night, between 10 p.m. and 6 p.m., we had faced a big problem. Until now, timetables have been restricted to 24 hours and services cannot cross midnight. This would have eliminated half of the services and all the fun. So with the help of our amazing engineering team, we spent some considerable time making this possible. So what that in the future can also make that last 11 p.m. services that ends on the next day. Now the freight is fully integrated with all the planned overtaking. The parcel intercity that runs the route at night and up to 4 freight trains following in each other down the route. It also features some DBBR 101 services, which lets you take the locomotive to full speed for over an hour, and the night jet services, which interweave with the freight at night, forcing a lot of freight trains to wait in the siding for them to pass. We've done our best to fill this timetable up to a real working day, and hope everyone enjoys the bustling action in Wurzburg, Fulda, and Castle Wilhelm show, be it at night or during the day. Here's the Ice 3, the Ice 1, and the Layer, which is the DBBR 425. The trains. The choice of trains and routes in TSW3 brought with them new challenges for the team to meet. Here are some of the unique features which we'll hope you'll enjoy. The team have grappled with when it comes to train setup. BNSF ES44 C4 locomotive looks at first glance like any other wide comfort cab U.S. heavy freight locomotive, but looks can be deceiving. It has a little unique trick up its sleeve. Normally the locomotive spreads its weight distribution across all 6 axles. However, if the wheel slip systems on the train detect any reduction in grip, they can take the weight off the center axle, meaning that the full weight of the locomotive is now only on the 4 outer axles on each truck, massively increasing the amount of grip they have. You can see this in action with some cylinders on the sides of the trucks. Both the animation and the physical change to the adhesion are simulated in TSW3. Moving on to the ICE trains, a new feature for TSW3 is a high-speed braking system called eddy brakes. These are now implemented on the ICE trains and allow them to stop much more quickly, particularly in emergency situations. When the ICE 3 first made its appearance in TSW2, players requested that an additional screen that shows the driver what's happening with the brake systems on the train be added. There's a lot of information, and it's helpful to the driver to really know what's happening along the length of the train at any given moment. So the team have worked hard to get that implemented for TSW3. Lastly, the passenger information system has seen some big improvements to the amount and types of data that it can show, accommodating the more detailed on-train screens on the ICE, but also adding other messages, car identifiers, and so forth to their trains, such as the 395 Javelin. User interface and menu screens. With TSW3, we've given the opportunity to rewrite the rule book to provide a better player experience. Our senior producer Jordan and creative director Sam tell us more. It may seem obvious, but when considering changes to the menus system in Train Sim World 3, we repeatedly reminded ourselves that the main thing that players will want to do is to drive or operate their trains. When looking at an overhaul of the menu, we started with 2 rules. Menu flow should be intuitive and memorable. Players should never be wrong. If they expect to find a link or tool somewhere, it should be there. In a perfect world, a player would be able to load the game, press one button, and be into the action immediately. While that lofty goal isn't possible, we've introduced a couple of features to get that closer. The quick play option will give you the choice of under or over 30 minutes. This will then randomly select a scenario or service you haven't completed depending on the length of the service you choose. Don't like what you were offered? Maybe it helped you decide what you actually fancy doing. If not, you can always go again. This is ideal for players who know they want to run a train, but don't know which. We also recognize that many players work their way through one route before trying the next, so the game will give you a quick link to the last route you played. We want you playing as quick as possible. Here's a new look at the UI. Of course, many of us want to operate a particular locomotive on the route of our choosing, so the traditional approach to selecting route, then service, has been simplified. As much as we like the previous approaches for selecting route or locomotive, with full screen images or the train model on full display, they didn't make it easier to get to the point of actually playing. This led us to using smaller tiled representations of your collection, so you can see more at a glance. This approach also has lower memory requirement, which means your menu should be working much faster. Here's a quick look. Another thing we spotted was that with the advent of layers allowing trains to be run on more routes, players often weren't certain what could be used where. To that end, we now give you the option to select your train first, then choose the route on which you'd like to travel. As your collection grows, this may yield more opportunities for you to use your favorite trains in more places. Keeping the initiative and simplistic goals in mind, we've changed the location of the creative tools, which can now be found in Creators Club. We also given you more help with it comes to using those tools. Getting rid of the text lists of vehicles, replacing them with white box thumbnails. Knowing the designations of 5 different kinds of freight wagons is no longer something you need. While the tools themselves haven't changed, we have given some time to removing the frustrations in their operation, particularly the scenario planner, which should now be easier to use. There are improvements everywhere in the new menu system, and we are confident you'll find it the easiest to use we've made. TSW3 gameplay, tutorials and scenarios. Of course, there's no point in providing all these features if there's no gameplay to take advantage of it. We spoke to Richard, one of our senior designers, about the new opportunities TSW3 provides us with. Gameplay on Train Sim World is literally the bits of the game that you play. This includes a timetable, tutorials, scenarios, and railway journeys. The timetables are a realistic day in the life of our chosen route. Tutorials should teach players how to operate the included rolling stock. Scenarios are unique situations on the railway that we create, and railway journeys that are a playlist of the content to guide players through the route. Tutorials are always a challenge for us, as in a real-life driver will spend months, if not years, learning the ins and outs of the train that they operate. In a short period of time during development, we needed to operate multiple trains and locomotives. Their quirks, and figure out how to teach that to players in bite-sized and engaging chunks. For TSW3, we've gone even deeper than we have done in the past, teaching signaling and safety systems that allow for a more realistic and fun experience. For example, players who enable AFB and LZB on Castle to Warsburg will have a much better time as the speed control and signaling systems work in harmony. It was high priority for us to make sure players are aware of this. On top of this, we've worked with experts to ensure that Cajon Pass is the most realistic U.S. freight route we've made to date. When creating scenarios, we try to focus on situations that are realistic but not included in the timetable. These could be situations where things go wrong, like stuck trains, poor weather, or unusual services that you wouldn't find every day on the line. The improved weather and lighting in TSW3 give us a lot more options. Hang on. Sorry about that. Anyways, the improved weather and lighting in TSW3 gives us a lot more options with how we set these up and allows an increased level of realism. One example of that is a realistic wildfire scenario. Like a wildfire scenario that we've been able to create on Cajon Pass. Now that is actually that is actually interesting. I can't wait to play this scenario. Anyways, Railfan TV and TSW3. We know you're all excited to find out more about TSW3, so Railfan TV will be chock-a-block full of previews, teasers, and developer insights into how we made the game. Here are some to put in your calendars. Full Railfan TV schedules will continue to be published every Friday with over 2 TSW3 streams per week before release. Tuesday, August 16th, introduction to TSW3 and Q&A. The 18th, we'll have the Castle of Warsburg preview. 23rd, we'll have the Training Center preview. 25th, we'll have the Southeastern High Speed preview. And the 1st of September, we'll have the Cajon Pass preview. Add-Ons Manager. We are pleased to reveal that Add-Ons Manager, formerly 64 gigabyte PS5 add-ons limit fix, is very close to release for TSW2. Our beta team have provided positive feedback so far, and are putting the finishing touches to it before rolling this out to consoles, as well as providing a solution for our PS5 players to allow them to use their whole suite of TSW add-ons. The Add-Ons Manager should also reduce some crashing seen on high-density routes, particularly on 8th gen consoles with lots of add-ons downloaded. Keep an eye out for this releasing before September 6th, providing it all is well. It should be released on TSW3 and on PC for TSW2 soon after. A big thanks to all our PS5 players for remaining patient as we worked on this complex issue and built out a bespoke solution. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Preservation Crew update. The Preservation Crew have done a good job of adding updated features to older routes, and it's time for the next stop on their journey. The remaining viable work for the team, as shown on the roadmap, will shortly be completed. Once tested and released, the team will be renamed, focusing on improving TSW3's training center. More on this tomorrow. Removing route requirements from future locomotive add-ons, as well as continuing content improvements for TSW3 content. We'll share the work the team are investigating in future roadmaps. but we're looking forward to see what they're able to do to improve your experience. TSW2 routes and locomotives that have been released unless otherwise stated will not be redone with TSW3 features. We want to bring our players new content that brings variety to their worlds, while sharpening up the experience across TSW3 gameplay. The existing Preservation Crew content on the roadmap will be released within the Train Sim World 3 first, with releases coming into Train Sim World 2 at a later date. You can see them below in the roadmap, which content we are currently planning to release in TSW2. TSW2 to Train Sim World 3 Progress Transfer. Progress uploaded to your DTG account. Content uploaded to Creators Club Mastery Railfan Shots will transfer between games. You may have to re-download your uploaded content to Creators Club when you first log into your DTG account on Train Sim World 3. Progress related to your game's profile, driver log levels, liveries, and scenarios not uploaded to Creators Club are under investigation. We will update you when we know more. TSW3 will have new achievements for all routes, Train Sim World compatible content, so achievements will not transfer between TSW2 and TSW3. We are investigating whether progress achieved on TSW2 contribute to achievements in TSW3, but this falls into the game profile progress mentioned above. Derailing issues. After putting in a fix to solve some derailment issues players were experiencing on Spirit of Steam, we saw a few isolated examples of further derailments. This was to be expected, as a fix like this touches every route in the game. We released a follow-up patch last week that should help with those experiencing issues. We are aware there are still a few issues referenced if you click the link above. Save game / dispatcher improvements. The team are still investigating both large-scale and smaller-scale improvements we can make to save game, the dispatcher, and problematic routes that we've identified issues on. Work is ongoing, and we've done a lot of testing to ensure rogue red lights and AI traffic dispatcher will not interrupt your experience within TSW3. There is work to be done, though, on providing a more long-term robust solution. Save game, while related, is a different challenge, one which requires a more drastic approach. In previous roadmaps, we've talked about the difficulties we have with save game, which we've had since the release of Train Sim World in 2017, with some players unable to continue services due to the game continuing in the background, causing permanent red lights and spatting. Rather than provide an unreliable feature for a new game, we will temporarily be turning off the same save game functionality within Train Sim World 3 while we investigate a way to ensure your experience isn't impacted by it. We will open it up on a route-by-route basis when we are confident it works as intended. We will update in future roadmaps when things change. Microsoft Game Pass. A few eagle-eyed players have noticed that Train Sim World 2 goes out on Microsoft Game Pass on August 15th, as we confirmed yesterday. TSW3 Standard Edition goes on to Game Pass on September 6th, with all your previous add-ons compatible and ready to go to download onto it on day one. There is therefore a 3-week window where a TSW title will not be available to play via Game Pass. Achievements. We are aware of 4 achievements which are being reported by you as unachievable in-game. Navacur Dresden commuter, BR-187, a long first trip, Spirit of Steam fixing a hole, Oakville Subdivision Masterclass. The team are working on these, and we will update you via our update notes when we have a fix in place. Question thread. While we've covered a lot of ground here, we are sure you'll have questions. While Thursday's stream will cover in more detail everything we are covering in these two roadmaps, we are dedicating a live stream to introducing TSW 3 to you all next Tuesday. We'll also answer as many of your questions as we can. Please submit your questions to be considered here. On to the roadmap now. Dovetail game releases. These are forthcoming add-ons that are being developed by DTG, which details are still being finalized for a release. We are including the ID code for it when possible. This will give you an idea of what to expect for TSW3. We've amended these product codes. To see what these ID codes mean, you can refer to this post. Transmelt 3, Chanel Fast Trucker Castle Wolfsburg, Cajon Pass from San Bernardino to the Bars, Southeastern High Speed Extended London to Ashford and Faversham. Other releases. These are forthcoming add-ons that are being developed by teams outside DTG, where details are still being finalized for a release. We are including the ID code for it when possible. This will give you a good idea of what to expect. To see what these ID codes mean, you can refer to this post. DBBR 420 EMU Hapstrucker Munch Munich Augsburg, developed by TSG. That's been there for like over a year now. Core features are larger projects. These may be significant new pieces of functionality or changes that will affect players on one or several different platforms, often requiring more time in development. This list may move more slowly than others. Add-On Manager, previously PS5 DLC limit fix. Red light dispatcher improvements across multiple routes, starting with rush hour routes and Harlem line. Save game functionality. Miscellaneous. Projects that players will notice but don't fall into one of the other categories. TSW2, TSW3, rush hour passenger system for London commuter. TSW2, TSW3, Spirit of Steam manual fireman functionality. Preservation crew. Projects that are being tackled by the preservation crew. Many of these upgrades will simply be adding to the latest game functionality to an older route. The additions or changes in the upgrade will include some or all of the following stations: departure boards, animated crossings, platform climb-out functionality, improved track rendering, rush hour passenger density and appearance, support for rail driver, contact signaler functionality, minor fixes to scenery, minor fixes to audio, minor fixes to gameplay, minor fixes to menu items, livery designer compatibility, and scenario planar expansion. We have included a scale of the size of the work / features put into the update. Note: preservation crew updates will continue after the launch of TSW3. Scottish commuter, TSW2, TSW3, tiny Scottish commuter. Small Hapstrucker Hamburg Lubeck, including timetable update. Medium Rhine Roaston. Small 2022 Bakerloo line timetable service with over 600 services. Long Island Railroad, Peninsula Corridor, Oakville Sub, LGV Mediterranean. Removed from roadmap. Items that have been removed from the roadmap. This is either because they have been completed, their status having changed, or the project has been suspended. Island Line 2022 BR Class 484, developed by Rivik Games, released. PS4, PS5 profile transfer not currently being worked on. DTG live rewards, encompassed with preservation crew updates. Anyways, let's go to part 2. Seconds out, round 2. This is part 2 of the first Train Sim World roadmap to feature Train Sim World 3, coming September 6th. If you missed yesterday's part 1, featuring detail on the routes included within TSW3, as well as other bits you expect to find on the regular roadmap, then check it out here. And if you haven't watched it already, our announced video, which contains a whole wealth of information about the new game. Today we will be talking about the brand new features coming to TSW3 and getting an insight from the team who developed them. Shall we get started? TSW 3 features. There's a lot to unpack, with various new features making their way into TSW 3. So we've asked the team to tell you a little bit about things we think you're going to enjoy. To make navigation easier, these are split into sections so you can explore what you're interested in. Dynamic weather for timetable services, updated lighting, visual effects, training center, audio, characters. We'll go into much details with all of these and showcase them in upcoming articles, videos, and live streams. But consider your appetites suitable, wheated, or whatever you call it, with these. Dynamic weather. While dynamic weather has technically been a part of the scenario since Train Sim World 2's launch, TSW 3 brings us into the world of timetable mode, allowing you the opportunity to have a different experience every time you drive. Keep on your toes, as the next shower is only a matter of time away. Once you become familiar with the route, it can sometimes feel a bit too routine when undertaking timetable services. We have always thought to vary the experience a route offers through scenarios where adverse weather conditions can create additional challenges. But again, once you play that scenario, you knew when the weather would change. Changes in weather while you're operating your service have long been requested by the community. And we can agree that the addition of dynamic weather patterns will remove the sense of the routine service. While we still offer the fixed weather option for those who have preferred conditions in which to drive, the additional of dynamic weather should greatly aid the sense of immersion you already get from Train Sim World. Here's the new light. Here's the new rain effects. You got puddles on the platform. Platform's wet. And look at that. The signal glows onto the platform and the reflection off the train. Obviously, we are still trying to be as realistic as possible. It is highly unlikely you'll go from broad sunshine on a July afternoon to a blizzard, but it's plausible for cloud cover to start to build before a few drops of rain to occur. Similarly, if setting off in the middle of torrential rain, it's now possible the line starts to dry over time. The entire purpose of this edition is to give you more to react to. If this kind of challenge appeals to you, you'll now select the month in which you're operating your service and be treated to weather you will need to adapt to. More favorable conditions, the summer is your friend. To increase the challenge, try the dead of winter and watch the skies. Volumetric Skies. The sky fills half the screen most of the time when you're operating trains in the simulator, so it's been something we've been trying to improve as much as possible since even the original launch of TSW. While new skyboxes have helped with the immersion in recent times, we wanted to do something altogether more impressive for Train Sim World 3. Enter Volumetric Skies. When we upgraded the Unreal Engine 4.26 last year, this brought with it the opportunity to use its new Volumetric Skies system. This brings true 3D clouds to the skies rather than 2D textures that we've historically used. As we investigated the possibilities, we become more and more excited at what could be achieved. It fast became one of the priorities for Train Sim World 3. I think this is either Kessel or Roersberg. You can see DBBR 425s, ICE 1, ICE 3, the DBBR 146, 2 Dostos, and DBBR 612 from Thor Rampy. The technical arts team spent a lot of time rebuilding the whole sky system, the whole sky environment to bringing the UE4 cloud system. They then had to undertake a lot of additional work making in-depth core UE4 game engine changes to fix a number of display issues, as well as optimizing how the system works so that we could bring the whole system to Gen 8 platforms as well. Here's what the 3D skies look like. As well as the clouds themselves, part of this project worked on how to bring them to life by casting shadows on the ground. We felt it would create a more varied experience, as well as add more immersion to the journey. If you saw the clouds, not only the sky, but casting shadows on the ground as well. Previously, the environment would simply dim the entire ambient light based on the state of the cloud. Now as you drive, you'll go through light and shadow depending on the state of the sky above you, which makes a tremendous difference. Here's what it looks like. We got to make reflections in general ambient light match a constantly evolving scene. The time of day is changing. The sky rays are moving, your train is moving, etc. We had a system in place previously which periodically would capture the scene to power things like ambient light and reflections. While this meant that the general scene always kept up, it did result in some sudden transitions. If the difference was a lot compared to the previous capture, and this was why you'd suddenly see the scene get darker or lighter periodically. We updated how this works using a real-time skylight capture system in UE4 now, and this always allows the updates to happen far more regularly, keeping the differences much smoother, avoiding sudden and jarring transitions. It also means those lovely clouds in the skies could match up more closely with what you'd see in the reflections in windows. New lighting. With new weather and new skies, it was only natural that we try to tackle an area which we know you've been providing us with a lot of feedback on recently: lighting. This is no easy task, and we hope that as we are able to show you more of TSW3 gameplay, you'll recognize the vast difference this makes to playing the game. Alongside the clouds, the team also wanted to make a big upgrade to the lighting system in TSW. Previously, the system had been built around a more visual, this looks good approach, literally configuring lights based on their visual looks until things seemed right. This obviously came with challenges: the sheer amount of things that can impact light consistency, subjectivity. That doesn't even consider that when approaching problems. The underlying issue could be one of a number of different things. While you can apply a different number of fixes to correct it in the scene you're looking at, you can then find it doesn't look ideal in other lighting conditions. This approach has a challenge for the whole team to deal with, and was one of the main reasons that the technical artists wanted to address it. It's been by far one of the biggest challenges for TSW3, and has involved completely scrapping the entire lighting system and starting from scratch. Doing so has enabled the team to build a new system that uses a realistic, physically based lighting system. Here's a comparison of the lighting in TSW2 versus TSW3 in St. Pancras. I can see a lot of differences between the two. TSW3 looks a lot brighter with more shadows and reflection. TSW2 doesn't look bright at all, and it barely has any shadows, and it barely has any reflection. We have been able to take real-world data for how bright various light bulbs are, how bright a station should be, and then match that within the game with realistic lux, luminosity, intensity values for the sun, train headlights, and platform lights. Excuse me. We then combine these together and make something in which we think is a huge improvement. The result is brights, darker shadows, better contrast, and colors that really pop. It's also allowed Unreal's eye adaptation feature, which simulates the iris opening and closing in light and dark, to really work much better. You'll find your eyes adjusting to the dark in tunnels so you see better and then a light flare will hit you, then bright sunlight fills your screen as you exit the tunnel, with your eyes readjusting moments later. This is perhaps best illustrated during our announced stream here. Here's what it looks like. You're in the tunnel, coming out of the tunnel, and readjusting. Adaptation in action. This too has required extensive work modifying the core behaviors in Unreal, as the light levels made some trains somewhat darker than the scorching sun outside on some routes. This means that the standard eye adaptation brightens the scene to cope with the darker cab interior and completely blooms out the outside view from the cab. We've been able to apply some new behavior to eye adaptation to cope with the situation now, so it will give you the best effect depending on what you're trying to look at now. We're really pleased with the end result. As part of doing the work with eye adaptation, we identified an issue where it would get stuck and need the player to look at a bright or dark area for a moment to trigger it to reset. And the solution for this was ultimately to be found in the Unreal Engine 5 codebase. So we brought that fix forwards into Train Sim World 3 as well. Here's another comparison in the lighting at St. Pancras, TSW2, TSW3. Excuse me. The last major challenge with the new lighting system was considering TSW compatible add-on collection, previously preserved collection, which have all their in-cab screens, train lights, and so forth, all tuned for the old lighting system. It's a non-trivial task to upgrade routes and trains to the new system, but we know players will still want their TSW3 trains on their TSW2 routes and TSW trains on their TSW3 routes. So we had come up with a solution. So while TSW compatible content will not receive the new PBL lighting, the new system will now detect various types of lights and automatically adjust them to fit the perfect lighting system they're running in. While this will not always result in the perfect lights, it will mean that the entire cross collection is cross-compatible on day one. The Training Center. All new to TSW3, the Training Center is your one-stop shop for exploring the world of trains, with the freedom to test and try out all your trains before you take them onto their respective routes. Think of it as a bonus free roam route. While we wait to see how you interact with it and explore, we asked Adam and the preservation crew to tell us more. What is the Training Center? Built from scratch, this new route is specifically designed to teach the operation of trains and enjoyment of TSW. It provides a serene place to explore at your own pace, both on and off trains. Seating. Found all over the site are various benches and seats, all of which are interactive, allowing you to sit and simply enjoy the view. Nature Reserve. Take a walk through the environment and make discoveries of all kinds. Access All. Built to accommodate all types and sizes of trains. Using the scenario planner, what will you test? Mapped Out. The collectible map is not just an additional object, but a guide to help orientation and exploration. New Heights. Not only seats are interactive, but ladders are too. Well spotted. We love taking screenshots of trains, so the world has been designed to make trains as photogenic as possible. Welcome. Located at Central Square, the Training Center building is open to all from far and wide. Beautifully crafted, high-tech, and modern. Why do we need a training center? The Training Center is designed to absorb much of the tutorial gameplay going forward. Any long-standing enthusiast of the TSW franchise will know that learning how to operate and interact with the world has become a little repetitive due to the fact any route could be the first experience for a new player. By combining all those requirements into one place, we are able to reduce that repetition significantly. Some trading will, however, continue to take place on the individual routes that feature unique operations. A lot of focus has been given to on-foot exploration and interaction. Trains play a huge part, but the world is bigger than you might think, and so we put particular emphasize on this aspect of TSW. How is the route developed? Having evaluated many proving grounds around the world, we settled it on the Wegberg-Wildenrath Test and Validation Center as a great provider for a lot of the project goals. To start with, the track was laid, and then following many conceptual ideas and discussions, the artists began simultaneously developing the central depot buildings and the wider site environment. Here we have concept drawing of the training center. Here's what it looks like. Metal here, red here, concrete here. Here's what the training center entry building looks like. While the preservation crew has much experience working on the many existing TSW routes in their varied experience environments, the specification for the training center stipulated that it should not be a direct copy of the real-world location, so it required the team to reinvent areas to better provide the environment we wanted. More images of the map. The route also gave the team a chance to expand on the technology developed during other projects that you may have seen, such as the rats running under New York, the signal box over the tracks at Fenentrop, and the fireworks display above. Oh wait, some of our projects haven't been released yet. Here's a few more screenshots. Why should you be excited? The training center is our first ever free roam route for a TSW franchise. While there are some areas closed off due to ongoing or future development, a vast majority of the route, including all the trackage, is completely opened to be explored. It even has off-the-rails mode permanently enabled. Here's the reception area. The long switching lines and rail yards have found along the middle of the site connect the small tram testing area with a medium-sized metro loop. That is great for practicing those quick start-stop operations of commuter lines. Further out is the mainline loop, built to allow 300 kilometers per hour operation for capable rolling stock. Here's a screenshot. While we have very strict rules about discussing desires, dreams, and aspirations, the training center for TSW3 has been designed with expansion very much in mind, and though nothing is confirmed yet, the preservation crew looks forward very much to working on projects and ideas currently proposed for future expansion. Here's the training center building. You have the Ice 3, Class C75. Got the Javelin, the BNSF SD40, DVBR 185.2, Class 465, Class 66, ES44C4, and another Class 66. Audio. Immersion is nothing without audio, and we've made a special effort within TSW3 to ensure you'll all have a great experience. Using some help from friends, and partners within the TSW community. We spoke to Adam, our senior audio designer, to talk about why TSW 3 will be a treat for your ears. The world of audio in any video game is just as important as the visuals. Without it, you don't have a video game. Now that's quite an opening statement. We know, but if you really think about it, then you know it's true. Here at DTG, we are always trying to ensure that we deliver the best audio experience we can. That's why TSW 3 has been a monumental effort by the audio team to try and level up the audio experience for players. First off, let's start with the routes themselves and the improvements and upgrades we've made there. For Castle to Wurzburg, we have been very lucky to have the expert experience of Mike Galtz do the Ice 1 audio for us. He has already been involved in the setup and simulation of this particular locomotive too, so it was a great fit. On the rest of the route, we have integrated the same spoken word alerter system into the tracks locos that can be found in the Ice 3 and Ice 1, as well as addressing a few bugs from previous versions. Below is what we call a spectrograph, which visually shows the audio journey players will experience when they're playing the game. Below is the spectrograph for the Ice 1. Spectrograph image for the Ice 1. A. This is the sound of door alarms playing and doors closing. The line at the end of those alarms is the door slamming shut. B. This is the start of the fans spooling up. You can see how they pitch over time to a steady speed, and that's why the sound becomes a steady line. This is where the train begins to move, and the traction motors can be heard. They are the brighter lines, and as speed increases, so does the pitch of the motors. A secondary tone comes in too, halfway between C and D. D. This is where the fans start to spool down, and as the Ice 1 reaches its set AFB speed, as it then speeds up again as the fans spool up again and return to their steady speed. Southeastern High Speed has probably one of the bigger upgrades, as we have upgraded the Class 375 audio to match the same audio that was introduced into the 377 for the Brighton Mainline DLC. Made improvements to the Class 395 audio and replaced the Class 66 audio completely thanks to the help or Armstrong Powerhouse AP. Again, with the help of AP, we have also updated the wagon sounds for the UK freight wagons. So now this now distinguishes them from other freight wagon sounds. It could have been so easy to just leave the locos as they were and spend time somewhere else, but we believed it was important, and so made as many improvements as we could. Cajon Pass introduced a brand new locomotive to the mix in the form of an ES44C4, and this required a new sound set. We were very fortunate to have recordings of an ES44 prime mover, so we were able to get those in and make sure we had a good footing for this Chivo locomotive. The other important element was the horn, and as we were able to rely on our U.S. locomotive horn collector / enthusiast Jim Miliski to provide a recording of the K5HL needed for the ES44C4. As always, we have had plenty of support from our Discord beta community, who had provided advice, resources, and pointers where we needed it. Thanks, folks. Other new features we have had to add audio to are the passenger umbrellas. So as you walk past passengers with umbrellas up, you'll hear rain falling down on the umbrella. A small detail, but something that might just catch your attention as you walk past. It's little details that can make a scene feel real. And finally, there's one new area that has had a facelift not only visually, but also audibly. And that's the UI. It's got a whole new background track that has been created by a member of the DTG community team, Benjamin Simons. It incorporates some subtle music elements while keeping the focus on ambience and weather to really go with the changing weather in TSW3. And not only that have we changed the background track, We have changed the UI sounds to give them a new, fresh feel. So this is the world of audio in TSW3, and we're incredibly proud of what the team have been able to produce over the last few months. Now it's over to you, the players, to enjoy this experience we have created for you. Visual effects. Snow and kick-up effects. Oh boy, I love this. In TSW2, the world looked great if it was either no snow or full of snow, but there was clearly room for improvement with variable snow. One of the key changes was that snow applied to different parts of the games at different rates and with different effects, so you did see an unbalanced scene. Here is what it looks like, kicking up snow. Also, here's a BNSF well car right here. For TSW Train Sim World 3, we have come up with a completely new system for managing how snow is applied, called a weather mixer material function. Every material in the game now uses this and ensures that snow is applied evenly and consistently throughout everything you see in the world, with the end result being much nicer view as the world gets whiter and snow continues to fall. We also wanted to give the snow a little more impact on the world itself, and using a technique called vertex displacement. We have made it so that as snow falls, it doesn't just go white. It actually looks like snow is piling a bit as well. You'll see the sleepers disappear in heavy snow, for example. So here's what it looks like when you first load into the game. Here's what it'll look like after snow is going to fall. Character art. Within TSW3, we strive to add in lots of touches to improve your gameplay experience. That's no difference with how we've approached our NPCs. We asked our senior character artist, Jan Sen, to tell us and show us a little bit about what we've done to create a more realistic set of characters within Train Sim World 3. After reviewing the current state of the characters in TSW2, we decided on 3 keys area that we wanted to focus on to improve within Train Sim World 3: skin tone, hair, and materials. For skin tone, we wanted to make sure that every character had a consistency between each other, to make them feel like they all belonged to the same world. We wanted to make sure that the skin tone was as accurate and realistic as possible. Here's TSW2 versus TSW3. You can see a lot of differences. When looking at hair, we wanted to use what we had learned on other projects to improve the materials and modeling in order to make something that looked closer to real hair. We felt this was important to help add that extra layer of immersion and realism into the characters. We started from scratch and used a more modern card placement approach to layer cards in a way that we could get depth and focus on the silhouette. We also started using hair caps to help us fill any gaps and to help blend the hairlines into the scalp. This approach then led us to creating a new material which behaves more accurately to how real life hair does. Our character has multiple specular highlights, one being a representation of the color of the lights, and the other a mix of hair color and light color. Here's what TSW looks like. TSW3 looks like. Materials was another important one. All of the clothing items currently in game, we decided it was important to try and improve all of the clothing textures and materials. Trying to achieve more realistic material reads was important, and is going to help a lot of variety to characters that will be seen populating the game, as you could see from the images. TSW2 versus TSW3, I think. Features included in the TSW compatible add-ons within TSW3. We can confirm that of these features, dynamic weather will be available for TSW compatible content, previously preserved collection. The remaining features listed above will only be available within the TSW3 content on launch. And so that ends the first roadmap of the TSW3. And yeah, that was quite a lot. That was like probably over an hour of reading both parts. So there's a lot of read, and yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now, before I end this, we're gonna go look at some of the features that'll be coming to TSW 3 in the announcement trailer. Here's a comparison between the TSW 2 clouds, and it's basically just a skybox texture that's on a flat surface to sort of make look like what the clouds look like. But here is the Train Sim World 3 clouds, and you can see that they look a lot better. Like I said, Train Sim World 3 will have shadows from the clouds on the ground, so keep that in mind. Here's a little bit of a little sneak peek at the new lighting system that they're implementing. Here's another lighting comparison in St. Pancras. Another lighting versus another lighting comparison. You can see a few differences there. Also, that's interesting, the EWS freight train on the side next to St. Pancras. Here's the eye adaptation thing in action. In action. Here's what the in-game umbrellas will look like. Here's what the rain impacts on the ground will look like. You guys remember this image, right? How I'm talking about this in the back here, right? Well, let's see how we can access this.
We have got lightning. Essentially, you can access this as well as it happening dynamically. You can, if you switch to custom weather and you want to set your weather up yourself, if you turn up the precipitation to maximum, then you'll get lightning as well, and thunderclaps and all sorts of things.
So there's audio cues as well.
There's audio cues as well. So
amazing.
It's actually it's really atmospheric, just cranking it up and driving and hearing, seeing the flash of lightning and the thunder rolling around is awesome.
The power of that mixed with the power of the loco is just, I can imagine the atmosphere as you're going through. It's going to be amazing.
So, like they said, you have to have it to like maximum pouring rain to get the lightning. Anyways, here's some more FX that will be seen in the game.
One of the other things that we've been wanting to do for quite some time is, because it's kind of iconic for electric trains, is the spark effects and arcing that they get on the contact points. So we put some time in and some thought into how that would work and why that would work and when it would work. And it means now that third rail trains, you'll see their shoes occasionally sparking. Overhead trains, the pantographs will spark occasionally. But more than that, it's tied into what's going on. So on a wet day or a snowy day, you'll get more sparks. And if you're drawing more power, because you've got throttle up higher, again, it'll create more sparks. So, you can find that putting a lot of power on a wet day coming out of a station, it could cause a bit of a light show. It's really sort of a stunning effect to see.
Lightning on the air, lightning in the wheels. We've got lightning everywhere. So much lightning. Some maps.
6 in to look at the way that the wind impacts the train and how you might need to drive, perhaps apply a little more power if you're in head-on wind. But the other area that we're implementing or impacting that is on the Kassel-Würzburg route. In higher wind situations, the drivers are instructed to set their LZB at lower speeds. So you'll be able to operate at the lower speeds accordingly. And similarly, the different trains, as I said previously, they run at different speeds, but then they also run differently whether they're on a viaduct or in a tunnel. So actually the whole LZB system has been upgraded in order to be able to support that facet of how LZB works in terms of wind behaviours, tunnels, viaducts and so on and so forth.
Very exciting, and again, one of those things that perhaps you wouldn't immediately notice but really enhances the challenge that's involved in the route.
Yeah, it's a depth thing. It's something that You know, when you're flying down the route, and as the weather changes, and you realise that you're going to have to manage that and cope with that. It's really interesting.
So, we've talked rain, we've talked wind, let's talk snow. Is snow going to get an invite to this party of VFX?
Oh, absolutely. When you watch videos of trains in the snow, they don't leave the snow alone. They drag the snow with them.
Yeah.
And they can cook up some of the most amazing snow clouds, both alongside them and behind them. And so what we're calling kick-up effects. So that particularly when you're driving along, you get that interference with the ground, if you like.
Thanks very much for that, Matt. So, a pretty comprehensive commitment from us to improving the experience for players, whether it's their first time playing the game, or whether you've been a Train Sim World player for a long time. And we're really excited about all of those. We can't wait to show you a little bit more about them in future live streams. But for now, let's move on to the things that we think you're going to need to know before September the 6th.
And that's about it. So, like I said, the deluxe edition, I don't even know if I said this, but the deluxe edition will cost €39.99 and $59.99 US. Standard edition will cost, I think, $40 US or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this Train Sim World 3, what we know so far, video. I will be covering more Train Sim World 3 when more articles release. And, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.